What a huge win for the Auburn Tigers. I'm Zach Blackerby. He's Darrell Dapprich. This is a special live postcast of Locked On Auburn, talking about the Auburn Tigers win 66-55. And man, it was an 11-point win, Darrell, but it didn't really feel like it until those last few minutes of the game. But I think we learned a lot about this team in this win, Darrell.
Yeah, the way you win games like this really builds character. You can take so much and glean so much from this game. Texas A&M, traditionally a team that gives Auburn fits. They like to muck it up a little bit, be physical. It's like a bloodbath type game. Buzz Williams seemed to have Bruce Pearl's number, but the difference this year to me is the key role players, the guys that held Wade Taylor down, that can come off the bench. Again, depth helped. I think down the stretch, and you probably have the exact numbers. I don't think A&M hit a field goal over the last 9 minutes of the game. That tells me there was leg fatigue, and Auburn was the more aggressive, fresher defensive team. So it didn't help them offensively as much depth down the stretch, that second wave scoring, but it did defensively. And what a win. You need wins like this. They were ugly. They're ugly, but they are just, you get so much from it. You really do.
Yeah, 9 minutes and 15 seconds. The last 9 minutes and 15 seconds, Texas A&M did not score a field goal. And then Auburn ended with a 7-0 run in the last 52 seconds. Of course, a lot of that was them fouling, but still. Jalen Williams, what a moment for him to step up and just nail that three. In fact, Darrell, you and I were watching it, and we had the conversation. We're like, okay, who do you want to score here? You said Janai Broome to the rack, which would have made a ton of sense. I said Jalen Williams. They popped it over to him, and just one of the bigger shots of his Auburn career.
You were like prophetic. You were really prophetic tonight. I mean, the first thing that happened is that Auburn brought the inbound in, and you said, I'd almost rather them get the offensive rebound here and run clock. It happened. And then you're like, who do you want to take this shot? I'm like, I like Broome going to the rack. You're like, I think Jalen. And then Jalen hits the three. So if you want to just text me some lottery numbers in the next 5 minutes, that would be beautiful. But yeah, it was. I think the things that needed to happen down the stretch did happen down the stretch for Auburn. And again, these games that it just looks like you're going to have to get in the mud, and it's physical, and it's like a bloodbath, and it's just like I said, it's everything seems hard. Nothing comes easy in a game like this. A&M did a good job expanding and extending their defense, and Auburn had to fight for everything, but give them credit down the stretch. When they weren't hitting shots, they said, okay, we're going to have to win this game by the way we defend. And that's exactly what they did. They came out the second half and had some turnover problems. But even that, Zach, look at the total turnovers. They still were a +7 on the turnover ledger. So even though they turned it over, they said, well, we may be struggling, but we're going to make you turn it over too. That's just winning mentality basketball. Love it. And this was a big win after what happened Saturday. I just feel like they can learn so much. These are the kind of wins that propel you in the tournament.
I think so. And if you would have asked Texas A&M and Buzz Williams, how did you want this game to go? I think how this game went would have been their answer, Darrell, because it was sloppy. It was mucky, I think is the word you've used a few times. And it seemed like every possession there were guys falling on the ground, which is what Texas A&M wants to do. They want it to be ugly. They want it to be physical, and that's exactly what they got. Fortunately, we saw depth come through. In the last 10 minutes of the game, you could tell which team was deeper, and fortunately, that was the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, I think the rebounding was as advertised. A&M is an elite offensive rebounding team. They average about 18 a game, and they have a knack for just timing is important with offensive rebounding, but they spread you out a little bit with the way that, and they're really good at tapping the ball back out and keeping it alive. I think Auburn was really, really at a disadvantage early on in the game with the rebounding standpoint. But once they got that under control a little bit, from like the, 8-minute mark left to go in the first half to the rest of the game, it was probably even. That enabled them to extend that lead a little bit. But A&M really, they very disruptive offensively on the glass. They put hands in passing lanes. They're diving everywhere and scrapping. Give them credit. I mean, they play hard, and it's not that – and Auburn matched that effort. It just looks different the way Auburn does it.
Right.
You know, I think it's a different type of effort. And again, here's the key to the offensive rebounding. For Auburn to get out in their transition offense, which is so crucial in Auburn winning games, you got to rebound the basketball. So if you can't, and you're bringing it in under your basket, and A&M has an opportunity to get back down the floor, it takes away a big offensive advantage for Auburn. So rebounds become that even more crucial because it's defense to offense is what happens. You transition pretty quickly. When Auburn started hitting transition shots late in the game, they took the game away from A&M, and that's how they play. That's their style.
Right. Yeah. Offensive rebounds. Texas A&M won that 19-8. And then when you look at second chance points, they outscored Auburn 10-1 on second chance points. I mean, if that's
and Auburn still wins double digits. I mean, that's
who this team is, man.
Exactly.
Like, this is a good team. I underestimated this team. I mean, this team is having guys step up, but it's not all the transfers. It's the dudes who were here last year that took a huge step forward. I mean, Dylan Cardwell had some incredible moments in the first half. Trey Donaldson had some pretty significant plays there. Janai Broome took over in the second half. And in fact, there was a moment about 10 or so minutes left to go in the game where Janai Broome said, "We're not losing this game." And you could tell he wanted the basketball. He wanted the guy that he was defending to have the basketball. You could tell that in his body language. And there's just so many guys that want the moment. And the guy that you and I and most of the Auburn fan base have wanted to want the moment was Jalen Williams, and he took it. He had the ball in his hands in the most crucial possession of the game as the shot clock was expiring, and he nailed that three-point shot. So there's just so much to like about this. Jalen Williams, 8 of 10 shooting for 22 points. I mean, Jalen Williams just keeps getting it done, Darrell.
He's figured it out. And everything that everyone felt like Jalen Williams could be, he's becoming. And I love that. I'm going to say something else, too. Last game, we talked about the Auburn depth, and you said, okay, with this second wave, it'll be interesting to see who Auburn has on the floor late in the game, right? Well, the last 5 minutes, it was all Trey Donaldson.
Yep.
He was on the floor. He was the one that they put the ball in his hands. Other than that silly turnover with under a minute, he really made good decisions. And I think that answered the question. Not that I totally have thrown Aiden Holloway away. I think he's still going to be elite. He's still going to be special. But late in crunch time, we saw who Bruce Pearl wanted on the floor. And you know what? It's very interesting. It wasn't Denver Jones who starts. It was Katie Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Katie Johnson and Trey Donaldson, 2 bench players, were in the last 5 minutes of the game during crunch time. I think that speaks volumes about the buy-in from the bench.
And we've seen Bruce Pearl teams where the point guard coming off the bench gets more minutes than the starter. We saw that in 2019 with Wendell Green and Zep Jasper. Zep was the starter, but Wendell Green would come in and he usually would get, 24 minutes or 22 minutes, Zep's 18-ish or something like that. So it's not like we haven't seen this before. And some of it is they want to stack those minutes. They want to stack Aiden's minutes with guys that can create off ball. And Trey Donaldson, I think, is able to create more with the ball in his hands than Aiden is at this point in his career. I think that will change over the course of Aiden's time here. We'll see. But I think all of this is strategic. And the fact that it's even a conversation is incredible. Like, every college basketball team wants to be having this conversation of like, well, which point guard is better? They're both good. They both seem to play. They're both worthy of 20 minutes a night. And that's exactly what they're getting. And you can see that across the board. I mean, it's a pretty nice, even split with the exception of a few. I mean, Janai Broome played 28 minutes tonight to Dylan Cardwell's 12, which actually surprises me a little bit because I thought Dylan was money in the bank in the first half. So that it felt like he played more than 12 minutes, which is a testament to when Dylan was in his 12 minutes, he was 3 for 3 for his 6 points, including some important and timely scores. That I think his first dunk was when Auburn was in a slump and they were down a little bit and they had like no momentum whatsoever. And Dylan was kind of the one to get him going there. So, but Janai Broome with 28 minutes, Jalen Williams with 35 minutes. I don't know how sustainable that is, but I do think that's worth pointing out.
Well, a couple things. Jalen Williams played 35 minutes. Let's just be honest, because Chaney Johnson struggled. When he came in the game, it was difficult to watch. The kid
there was like a 3-minute stretch that was one of the worst 3-minute stretches of basketball I've ever seen someone play. It was,
you couldn't put him
good.
You couldn't put him back on the floor after that. So that's why. The second thing is, look at how many teams in the country in the last 5 minutes of a close SEC game, crunch time, have 3 of their bench players on the floor. Only 2 starters, Broome and Williams.
Right.
Chad Baker-Mazara, Katie Johnson, Trey Donaldson, bench players during crunch time. That speaks to depth. And the other thing about Dylan Cardwell, I think his presence in the game settled Auburn down rebounding-wise a little bit. He started snatching some boards and kind of got that under control and said, no more offensive putbacks. And, he's physical. And when he grabs a rebound, it ain't coming out. He settled Auburn down on the defensive glass a little bit, besides the big shots he hit. Again, he has become vital to this team. He's not just a minutes eater anymore, or not just serviceable. He's vital. And I think he could have gotten more minutes. What the problem was, he got 4 fouls. He was in foul trouble. And that's probably why he didn't get back on the floor. And then by the time it got close with 5 minutes to go, of course you want Broome in there because offensively he came alive. But you put a Cardwell in maybe with 7 or 8 minutes to go, and he could have, without 4 fouls, and I think he could have really, really helped. So kudos to him and the way he's playing. I want to see Denver Jones hitting those open shots. He was stroking those early in the year. He missed 3 or 4 wide open threes, a couple that could have been daggers. So I think maybe those will fall again Saturday. It just was a little bit off tonight. But again, you shoot the ball that poorly from the 3-point line and you win double digits. You get out rebounded and you win double digits. It's just, here's the thing. When teams have figured out your formula and the things you've been doing to win, and they get you out of that and you still win by finding other ways to win, that's scary good. And this is where this team is really finding, I guess it's footing on different ways to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And it's a situation where, those offensive rebounds for Texas A&M, they shot the ball 11 more times, but A&M shot 29% from the floor.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is A&M has like almost no touch around the basket based off of what we saw tonight. But the scrappiness and just relentlessness of this Auburn defense, it's just, it's tenacious. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. It helps when you don't put them at the free throw line 31 times like we did last year. You early on, you could see the referees were letting them play, swallowing their whistle a little bit. And I thought, don't complain if you're an Auburn fan. That's a huge advantage because you're not putting A&M, you're not getting them in the bonus, you're not putting them at the free throw line. They shot 0 free throws for a very, very long time. I think maybe in the first half they didn't shoot any. I can't remember, but they didn't go to the free throw line. So you knew it was coming to kind of equal it out in the second half, but that's a big advantage when the refs decided to swallow their whistles early. Because again, you put any team on the free throw line 31 times, even if they only hit 25, 24, that's huge. So Auburn did a good job defensively and taking Taylor out of the game, and Radford, who wants to go to his left, Auburn made him go to his right. Coleman hurt Auburn a little bit. At one point, Hoke tweeted out, this was just amazing. He had 13 points in 11 minutes. Coleman did, the transfer from Duke. And then once we got him settled down a little bit and got in his head a little bit and started blocking his shots, he disappeared. He David Copperfield on us. And so I think that was big. There's so many things to take from this that are positive.
Did you see that special on him, like what his favorite dessert is?
I did not. What is it?
It's any kind of turnover, an apple
there
turnover,
you go.
I guess. He ended with 7. So bad.
Wow. That's a lot of turnovers. A lot of turnovers, especially for a big that's not handling the ball, 6'9", and he turns it over that many times. Pepperidge Farm is his new nickname.
Yeah, you hate to see it. All right. I think everybody's going to say the same name. I could be wrong, but drop
Yeah.
your player of the game in the chat. Very, very curious as to who, if anybody says anybody other than Jalen Williams, I'm interested to see. Maybe some KD. I don't know. Hey, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. Alumni Hall is the best place to buy all of your Auburn swag, whether it's hats or shirts or jerseys or pullovers or jackets. It's all officially licensed stuff. You want to make sure you've got the good stuff. You're an Auburn fan. You're tuning into this show at almost 11 o'clock on a weeknight. You love Auburn, so you need to sport the best Auburn gear you could possibly get. Alumni Hall makes that happen. They've got physical locations in Auburn, Opelika, and Huntsville. Darrell, you've been to all of them. I've been to two of the three of them. They're great. The selection and price is awesome. So be sure to do all that, or you can go to alumnihall.com. Darrell, most people saying Jalen Williams, which I think.
It's him or Quarter Zip OTV guy that gave the officials all that they wanted in the first half.
Yeah,
one of
that
the two
guy's
of the
a
players
legend,
of the game,
and he has no clue. He has no clue.
Yeah, he got after him pretty good. So it's either him or Jalen Williams, but I'm going to go with Jalen Williams as my player of the game. I'm going to go out on a limb there.
Yeah.
Let me just say this too. We talk about the three, but the dunk. I mean, I wanted to call 911 and report a dead body. That was unbelievable.
It was insane,
and it was an and one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how strong it was. The guy still, the A&M player hit his wrist, and he still threw it down like that. I mean, those dunks are becoming legendary, and they are game changing. They really are, momentum wise.
Yeah, he just kind of, I don't know, it's almost like a glide all the way to the basket. It happened so fast. They scored in transition so quickly. I mean, I shot up off the couch, and that took a lot because I did legs yesterday, and my legs are very, very sore. And I almost woke my my kids up. But I haven't reacted that way to a dunk in a long time.
The three highlight dunks this year so far are all of the ones that are get you out of your seat dunks, like you said, are all Jalen Williams. He came down the lane one time during Christmas where I said he came down Santa Claus Lane. Then he had a tomahawk, the game I was at it against Alabama State. He has just done, I tell you, he is becoming an all first team SEC caliber player. You pair him with Broom, who is that level as well. Look at your front court. You know, it's just, it's everything that Auburn needed him to be. He's becoming. So I can't have enough adjectives to describe him, really.
I mean, it really is amazing the jump that we've seen some of these players have. Like, we saw signs of Trey Donaldson taking that step forward in March last year. Jalen Williams, I mean, normally when players are here for so long or in any spot for so long, after their third or fourth year, that's typically just who they are. You know, you see a big jump from your freshman year to your sophomore year, then you see another pretty sizable jump the following. And then after that, it really tapers off. But to see what Jalen Williams has done, what Dylan Cardwell has done, and Janai Broom, I mean, he's an upperclassman. And he's played a lot of college basketball. And just to see what these guys have, Katie Johnson's another one, to see all these guys take this massive jump forward from last year to this year. It's not like they're freshmen to sophomores. These are older guys. So, I mean, it's pretty wild. I mean,
it's why
are we watching something pretty special right now?
Yeah, and it's why what happens in March matters, because I believe that what happened in March for Trey Donaldson propelled him and springboarded him and gave him confidence into this offseason. Jalen Williams last year was very streaky. He'd be a guy that would have 12 first half points, look like the best player on the floor, and then you'd put out a missing persons report on him in the second half because he wouldn't score again. Well, not this year's version of Jalen Williams. He comes to play in the second half too and finishes. He stacks halves. He stacks performances. He doesn't have two good games and then disappear for three. That's the key too, having continuity throughout the season.
Yeah, he stacks halves and he snatches souls. And he just doesn't care. He just doesn't care about you.
No.
And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And we've talked about, sorry, man, my nose is like, can't quit itching. But we've talked about like the wanting somebody to have that killer mindset. And like, it's Jalen. And he's a dude who he's been at Auburn for like 10 years, it feels like. And we've begged for this to come out. Like, where is that? Like, that's what he needs to do to take that next step. And I don't know if it just clicked. I don't know if Bruce Pearl said, if you don't take over, like I don't know what we're gonna do. Maybe it was a confidence thing. It's like, you are the winningest player in Auburn basketball history, and something clicked as far as his mentality. I don't know. But this is not the same dude. This is not the same player that we've seen his million years he's been here at Auburn. I mean, Jalen Williams snatching souls like it's his job, Darrell.
Well, and here's the other thing that's really telling to me is if you look at the 3 position that Auburn's been really getting some great play out of Chad Baker-Mazara the last couple games. If you look at the stats, I don't think Chris Moore, I don't think Chaney Johnson, and I don't think Chad Baker-Mazara scored tonight. You have that in front of you. If Chad Baker-Mazara,
Chris Moore did not, and Chaney did not.
How about Chad Baker?
He went 1 for 6. He scored 2 points.
Okay, so you get 2 points out of your 3 position. That's been giving you a lot, about 14 or 15 up to this point. You get 3 points from them. You get out rebound. I mean, again, and you still win the basketball. And the point guard play wasn't that stellar, from a scoring standpoint. Holloway hits his first 2 threes. Donaldson gets some baskets in the second half, but it really wasn't that dynamic as well. And so, in the 2 guard position was all KD. Really, he backcourt need to step it up. Front court won this game, but at the end of the day, you have all those things going against you, and you win double digits. I mean, it's just, I don't know that it's you can't overstate that enough. It's really special. It really is.
Yep. Trey Donaldson, his plus minus was plus 23.
Holy crap! It was plus 31 against Arkansas. Look at that. The last 2 games.
And just for perspective, Jalen Williams was 8 for 10, 22 points. His plus minus was 15, and Trey's was plus 23 in 21 minutes.
What was KD's?
8.
Okay.
In 21 minutes.
I thought it'd be double digits, but
me too.
God, that's ungodly with Trey Donaldson. He's averaged plus 26 in his plus minus the last 2 games.
Yeah, and he's he went 1 of 5. Like, he wasn't great from a scoring perspective, but
he distributed the ball and found the open guy and
reversed it. Yeah. I mean,
he did a good job on Taylor too. I think he guarded, we just know that Holloway's got some defensive deficiencies as a freshman. He's going to have to get figured out. Donaldson will lock you down. And I think he did a really good job on Taylor, who had 6 points all in the second half. You take that all day, or 8 points. I can't remember how. He may have hit a couple of garbage free throws late, but that's a big, getting him and Radford to play under their normal season averages was really big.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this was a great defensive effort, and I think this is a great defensive team. Somebody said Auburn's now 4th in Ken Palm. That's insane if that's true.
I mean, take care of business Saturday at home.
Yeah, Auburn is 4th in Ken Palm. Houston, Arizona, Purdue, then Auburn, then Tennessee rounds out your top 5. Alabama.
I'd take that 4 for a Final Four right now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would take a Final Four. LSU, who comes to town this Saturday, is currently 84th. So
yeah, they won again tonight, but they won at home against Vanderbilt. They beat Texas A&M on the road, which is pretty impressive. But again, I think Auburn plays better Saturday shooting the basketball than they did. A&M's a tough team to score against. They're tough defensively. They do a lot of unorthodox things. They get you out of your sets. They get you out of things. They're very, very scrappy. I mean, look at Auburn's season average and what they compared to what they scored tonight.
Right.
They make you get down in the gutter with them and play ugly basketball, and Auburn did it and still won by 11.
Yeah. I mean, they've won like every game by 15, I think, this year.
Yeah.
So this was nice. So, I mean, we learned more about this. We got more out of this win than we did blowing out Arkansas.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
All right, let's play our favorite exercise. Next 5 games, what's our record? Live chat, flood it up. LSU this Saturday. Next week, they go to Vanderbilt, who does not appear to be very good. They host Ole Miss. It's going to be a Saturday night game, 7:30 at Neville. That place is going to be crazy. They go to Alabama Wednesday evening. That's at 6:30. And then one more. Then they go to Mississippi State the following Saturday on January 27th. So Wrong answers only. What is Auburn's record of the next 5? I'm saying 4-1.
Me too. And I'm last postcast I said it could be the Vanderbilt. I don't think so. I think Auburn handles them in Memorial Gymnasium. I don't care about that voodoo. So it's either the Mississippi State game on the road, which technically Auburn's played really, really well in Starkville. I mean, they haven't lost there in a while. Still not an easy place to win in the Hump, or it could be, in Coleman. Alabama, if they get hot the way they did tonight, or shooting the basketball, but I say 4-1.
Mm-hmm. You want to predict the loss?
I don't. I can't because I could see them winning all 5, and I could see them losing 2 of the 5. I'm leaning more towards Coleman just because if Auburn goes in there on that streak, and that place will finally get some fans in it because of who they're playing and what Auburn draws. Who knows? But I think 4-1 the next 5.
Yeah, I would take that. Realistically, the one you're probably most likely going to lose is Alabama, but I still would take that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'd rather lose this. Obviously, we all would rather lose in Starkville. If you have to lose one, I'd rather lose at Mississippi State. But
I think I'm with you. With you. But
we'll see, though. We'll see what Auburn can do from a depth standpoint, because here's one thing about that and I know we're looking way ahead. That Alabama team can shoot, and they are very good offensively. But I think Auburn defensively will change that. I don't think that they're going to be able to have the kind of offensive explosions they've had against other teams playing Auburn the way they guard. Now, on the flip side, Alabama does not defend. They don't guard. I mean, they held South Carolina to 47.
Dude, the analytics love Alabama, though. And they keep, they've played a lot of good teams, but they've lost against them all.
They have. I think, again, at the end of the day, when they're shooting the 3 like they're when they shoot the 3, they'll beat anybody. But if they don't, and you guard them and make them a little uncomfortable, they're not going to in turn guard you and get into a defensive slugfest. So that's where Auburn, I like that, because as long as Auburn can play the kind of style of defense they're playing, Alabama's not guarding anybody. So that's a big advantage for Auburn. We'll see if they're hitting 3s like they hit them tonight. They can dang near beat anybody.
Yeah. All right, any takes or questions? We'll wrap up in a few minutes, but if anybody's got any good takes or questions, would love to discuss them.
If anybody's joining us from the from the Eastern time zone, we're about 3 minutes away from Wednesday, so happy hump day.
All right, several people wanting the quarter zip guy on the podcast. If you know the quarter zip guy, reach out to me.
We know his name. We know his name.
Oh, do we? Don't
I'll say it off. I won't. I'll tell you off the air. Yeah, we know his name. Yep.
Oh, I got a text about it. Okay. Yeah. We'll work on that.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
What if we'll come on for a postcast? So we'll see.
That'd be special. That'd be good.
Yep.
It would be nice to have somebody on the postcast that was even more emotional than me, even a little bit more high strung than me. Yeah. And this dude would fit the bill.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. A few people have made comments about SEC officiating so far. I haven't had a problem. I didn't really have a problem with how the game was called tonight.
We should be glad the way the game was called tonight. Now, in the second half, they cleaned it up a little bit and blew the whistle more, which is always going to happen to keep but the first half, when they set the tone and swallowed the whistle and let Auburn and A&M both play physical and body it up a little bit, that's advantage Auburn, because A&M is not dynamic offensively, and they get a ton of their points from the free throw line. If you're not putting them there, it's a huge advantage to Auburn. So you should be glad that the officials called it the way they did early on.
Yeah. Jesse saying the goaltending calls were bad. Yeah, I mean, you don't see that called that often, but every crew is a little bit different. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dap6410. Join me and you, I guess, Friday morning for our
and tomorrow.
And we also have one tomorrow morning that will drop. So we did a little double dip on that, and then on Monday mornings and Tuesday afternoons, various shows across the Auburn network.
Yeah, we're so close to 15,000 subs. Please, if you're watching right now and you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It's ridiculous it feels ridiculous even saying that we were like 40 away from 15,000. That is unbelievable. And thank you guys so much for supporting this show and making all of this possible. But we'll be back in the morning. Darrell, like you said, he'll be joining us. We talk about who we think Auburn should hire as the next defensive coordinator, as well as a bunch of other things. So be sure to check that out. Read all of my written work at auburndaily.com, and we will see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.